Hello there, welcome along. This is Business Connections Live, the programme for entrepreneurs, SMEs and also business owners. Now, on today's show, we're going to be giving advice on how to use the media for free. It's a big ask, this, actually. If you've been thinking to yourself, how do I go out there? How do I get PR? How do I get on the radio? Listen, I've got an opinion. I'd like to give advice. How do you go about doing it? Well, my guest on today's show is Rachael Taplin of Blue Boo Media. What a great name. She's a media matchmaker, speaker and PR trainer. But also, she tells businesses, companies, organisations like yours, how you should go about manipulating the media and how you could end up being a spokesman, an expert spokesman on a particular topic, and how that can actually help grow your business over a period of time. Rachael, lovely to have you on the program today.
Thanks for having me.
The first time I came across you, I saw you doing a seminar, and there you are, you're up on the stage, you're very excitable, very loud, but giving some great advice to small businesses. For people who don't know who Rachael Taplin is, who are you, what do you do?
I'm a business owner, first and foremost, and I've always worked with small businesses. So I help people get their own PR, help them to connect to the media and do their own PR, really. So my background was always marketing, and I then set up my own magazine that I franchised all around the country, and I needed to use PR and had no idea how to go about it because it's so scary. So I traditionally did what most people do and thought, well, I better hire a PR agency, and looked a PR agency up in London, and they charged me £1,500 a month.
And that was cheap.
Back in the day when we used to have budgets, yes, that was cheap.
And horse and carts by the sound of things.
Absolutely, it was about 2007.
Right.
They made me no promises. They said, you know, we'll, you know, if we get you PR, then that's great, but we can't make any promises. And they did secure me on with Lorraine Kelly on GMTV, that was back then. And then they gave me a full page, secured an article in the Daily Mail, and the response I had was unbelievable. So as a small business owner, to understand the power of PR, it was like, wow, this is amazing.
I think the question then is it because of you that it worked, or do you honestly believe that anybody can do what you did, to emulate what you did, copy nearly the process you went through, and to get the same kind of success?
I honestly, hand on heart, know for a fact it can work for most business owners, but they have to be willing to share an emotional story, because I used to make the same mistake that most businesses do when they approach PR. Really, they just want an advert. They just want to get coverage, their company name, this is what we do, and here's our telephone number. That's advertising, that's logical. PR is an emotional connection, and I think once you understand and you're willing to share your story with the right audience, it's a win-win for absolutely everybody, and that's what gets you great PR success, if you're willing to share your emotional story.
So, I mean, we're going to go down the whole routes of how you go about doing it, but fundamentally does it mean that you can actually sit there in a business, you can sit back for a moment, find a great story that you want to tell that has an emotional connection perhaps with your potential customers, and then approach journalists? Is it truly as easy as that?
I think it's understanding how to go about it, who your audience is, and I know we'll go into detail with it, but it's really exciting more than anything. It's fun, it's free to secure publicity, but I think that the thing is with social media these days, the connections are out there. You can Google and find the right people to talk to, and the media has changed so much in the last 20 years. In fact, it's changed in the last 2 years, it's changed in the last 5 years because of the credit crunch. The same newspapers are still outputting the same newspaper, the 60 pages, but they've got half the budget or quarter the budget they used to have. So they need stories, they need great emotional stories, and that's the biggest difference. So if you can approach them, that's your audience, the right audience for them, with a great story, of course you'll get publicity.
So what do you think, where should we start then? I mean, you went to the PR agency initially, and and you were talking to them, and we've had PR agencies on here, and of course everybody has a place in business to do what they need to do, and there are a lot of people who are out there, you can give them all the instructions and they won't follow anything through for themselves. So just, you know, is it not easier for a business to go to a PR agency?
Absolutely. PR agencies are brilliant. You know, I'm not here to say they're not, because they do a great job. but not all small business owners can afford a PR agency. And also the media has changed so much in that they actually like to go direct to source. They like to be able to pick up the phone direct to the expert and say, can you help with this comment? So what we're doing is kind of media matchmaking and putting them together and showing you how to connect to the media direct yourself if you have the time to be able to do it. And it does take time. You know, with a PR agency, sometimes they'll do all of the work for you, and you know, you can just rock up for the radio interview or the TV interview. So this does take a little bit more time to do it for yourself. But how wonderful, because you get a better return on investment. You know, you're getting to know the journalist personally yourself, and it really is leveraging you at a completely different level if you get PR. So for me, I used the PR agency, and within 6 months, unfortunately, we had the credit crunch, and I just couldn't afford to appoint them every month. I couldn't afford £1,500 a month. So
and were you seeing any return at the time from them?
Yeah, I mean, I did a little bit, not a lot, but a little bit, enough to make me think PR is really powerful, because I could see my website traffic going through the roof. I could leverage the TV interview that I did. You know, it was great then for my business to be able to say I've been featured in the Daily Mail. So, you know, absolutely I did see a return. But then I went to a business seminar to see a speaker over from America, and he taught me exactly how to do your own. You know, you see these gurus and these people speaking, how to do your own PR. And I thought, oh, wow, that's great. So I bought his package, and that was it. Literally, I learned how to do it myself. And since then, I've done hundreds of radio interviews. I've been on most of the TV channels. I've been featured in most of the women's glossy magazines. And my story is nothing special. I was just a mumpreneur trying to achieve the work-life balance. But the media was just interested in it.
I mean, the media is it's a funny mistress, the media. Yeah. It can chew you up and spit you out very, very quickly. Yeah. You have some natural attributes. You're an attractive woman. You go on television. You know, you've got teeth. You smile. You look brilliant on screen. What are they buying into? Are they buying into the story, do you think, first, or are they buying into the person, the personality?
I think they're buying into personality. It's all about who your audience is.
So does that mean Mr. Dullard, who runs a very successful, shall we say, technology company, but really he's the bloke that you would ignore at the parties, is he able to achieve the same thing, or does he?
Well, his technology business is going to be targeted to a completely different target market. So he's going to be his business to business. He's, you know, people in technology, that's what floats their boats. They're going to be interested in technology.
So they're going to like Mr. Dullard then, yeah.
Absolutely, they'll like the soul of the party. So it's all about matching your audience. So for me, I was just trying to approach working mums. So I was really to the consumer. It was completely broad brush, from anyone reading The Sun right through to The Times. You know, it was mums that wanted to achieve the work-life balance. So it's just about opening up. But it's, yes, I know I'm confident, and I love speaking and networking, but I've helped lots of women and men and business owners that are scared, a little bit shy, but still have a great story. So PR, as long as you match the audience to the media, it can work.
Is that one of the issues then, perhaps, that people do have? Is that they don't match the right media or the right story to the right media and the right audience in the end of the day? Is that what happens?
Absolutely. See, you know, you don't want to share your story if it's a technology story and you're going to send it off to a women's lifestyle magazine. It's not going to work, is it? It's about making sure that you speak to the right media, the right connections, and that's, you know, I can help with that. That's what PR agencies will do. They will have the right connections, and as business owners, we don't know how to go about, we don't even know what media's out there half the time, but, you know, I can help people, and we have like a database where we direct them to, but you can do your research. So just find, if you're in technology, find what your technology titles are, or the people that write about technology for the national newspapers, and approach the right people. Take a bit of time, that's all it is.
When you say approach people, do you mean follow them on Twitter and then send things on Twitter, email them? I mean, when you say approach, what do you mean?
It's whatever you're comfortable with. But do you remember that thing?
See, everybody's uncomfortable about picking the phone up. Yeah. that thing, you know, hello. People hate that, don't they?
Business is scary, and at times we have to put ourselves out of our comfort zone. So if it is just following somebody on Twitter, then go for it. But most media will have, like most radio stations, BBC radio stations are brilliant for coverage. Find out your local BBC station, become one of their fans or like their Facebook page and see what they're talking about. You know, the media every day will talk about topical stories. So, you know, everyone's talking about Brexit at the moment. Are you in or are you out? You know, you might be a business owner and you might have an opinion on it, and your local BBC radio station are looking for guests to talk about how's this going to affect your business. You could just literally follow them on Facebook and say, I have got some really good arguments for why we should stay in from a business point of view. You'd probably be on that radio station within a couple of hours. Because, you know, we think that the media are, you know, not going to use us, but they sit down every morning, especially radio stations, going, right, what are we going to talk about today? And who can help us with that? And then they look through their little black book, and they put a media shout out, which is called a media request, and ask for help with their stories. So it can be quite simple.
Listen, we'll talk a little bit more about it in just a few moments' time. It's going to be an absolutely fascinating show. I hope you're going to find it interesting as well. If you've been thinking to yourself, how do I go about getting PR, press? How do I get publicity for my business? What are the best ways? What's the best route to do it? Already, I mean we're talking about using the BBC. I mean, other radio stations are available. But the thing about the BBC, of course, is that they are current and they are topical in the things that they talk about. A lot of the radio stations that are local or regional don't do very much talk at all. So here's an opportunity to get yourself onto a brand that is recognised and carries that weight, that gravitas that you need, that perhaps will catapult your business, your company, your organisation, your brand, your product, the service that you provide, or maybe just the opinion that you have to raise your own personal profile. You can be on a station that will give you the opportunity to voice that, to get on that podium, to step up to the plate and to actually get your message out there. It's going to be a fascinating show. We hope you're going to find it really interesting. My guest on today's show is Rachael Taplin of Blue Boo Media, a media matchmaker, speaker and PR trainer. You're watching Business Connections Live. My guest on today's show is Rachael Taplin of Blue Boo Media. She's a media matchmaker, a speaker and a PR trainer. And what we're talking about today is how you as a small business owner or even a large business owner can turn yourself from a nobody into a media somebody. Or at least your business anyway. So that's what we're talking about. There is a cult out there, isn't there, Rachael, of celebrity. And some people turn their noses up at it. But I remember when I was working in the computer industry 1,000 years ago, it was my job to make my managing director a media expert, a go-to person. Should we all be striving to do that today?
I think if you're in business, you surely should be an expert in what you're doing. You know, you set up in business originally because you're passionate about something. You know, you're either helping someone or you're solving a problem, and that makes you the expert. So why would you not want to share that with the world and not share it with the media? You know, so absolutely yes. You know, go out and position yourself as the expert. And I think as British people, we're a little bit shy.
Reserved.
Yes, a little bit reserved, but you know, your job is to help people, isn't it? And if you're helping someone and sharing your story, then you're doing a good thing.
The word celebrity, I think, has been tarnished over the years. It seems that you can have TV celebrities who are famous for absolutely doing nothing.
Yeah.
And what we're talking about here is that we're looking for somebody that, maybe celebrity is the wrong word, but an industry expert, a spokesperson, aren't we?
Yeah, however you want to wrap it up. You know, celebrities get coverage on the media because of their status, but it's where do you start? How do you position yourself as a business celebrity or expert? And it's just baby steps. You know, like we talked about earlier, speak to your local BBC channel, because if you're a business owner and, you know, so every year we know there's going to be lots of rain and there's going to be lots of flooding, and at some point they're going to want to talk to someone, how can we overcome the floods that happen every single year? Well, if you're a flood expert and that's what you do, you should be onto the media at that time. And that's a great way then to position yourself. And one thing leads to another. It really does. If you work with the media and you have like even the tiniest of interviews, you can leverage that then. And you can approach the media and say, I've done a radio interview, and one thing leads on to another. As I said, I've done local BBC radio interviews. As you know, I'm a Brummie.
Are you?
So I am. From
really? So
BBC
that's where the
West
accent's
Midlands.
from.
so BBC West Midlands, and as a result of being on the BBC West Midlands, I've also been asked to be on Radio 2. Now, I didn't contact BBC Radio 2. They share their database. So I was a franchise expert. They'd obviously put me in their database as an expert in franchising, as a mumpreneur, and I was featured on with Anne Diamond doing a radio interview just because I was on my local station to start with. And I've seen that happen time after time after time to the business owners I've helped secure publicity.
Do you think somebody, before they embark on this journey, then they need to sit down for a moment, maybe write down what their skills are and what they think they can talk about? And of course, we do have that instance, don't we, where we're sitting in a studio or we're on the end of a telephone line and we're being interviewed, and all of a sudden our mind goes completely blank.
Yeah.
And if somebody was to say, can you remember where you live? You'd probably go, nope, I haven't got the foggiest idea who I am or where I am. But do we have to have just a little bit of a self-reflection as such, where we're thinking?
Without a doubt, it's good to kind of get a little bit focused and I always say, you need to speak from the heart. You always need to be authentic, so don't worry. The job of the journalist or the producer or the interviewer is to interview you. His job is to ask the questions as you are doing now. My job, or the job of the person being interviewed, is just to be a great source of information. So you just go with the flow with the interview, but it is always great to have 2 or 3 key messages, 2 or 3 things you think you want to say, a bit like the politicians do, but not quite like that. Answer the questions, but have 2 or 3 key pieces of information. So you might want to just casually mention your website, if you've got free information on your website that they can go, download it. You might want to mention what you stand for, what your values are as a business. So just have 2 or 3 key messages. What I do when I do a radio interview, I just put those on a little yellow sticky notepad in front of me, because it is nerve-wracking, Steve, you're so right, and everything goes blank. But if you've got those key messages in front of you, you can just say, mention website, or mention, you can't mention it too many times.
I think that is great advice, actually. So there you are with your sticky pads, and you've written out what your key messages are. Not too many, I would imagine.
Not too many.
What are the big mistakes you think that people make when they do get an opportunity? So BBC XYZ has just phoned up and said, we'd love you to come on the programme. We're looking for an expert to talk about this. What are the mistakes that people invariably make?
The job is for you to tell, not sell. So you're telling your story, you're not selling your business. So, be very gracious in that if you mention your website too many times, especially the local BBC channels or the commercial stations, they are really generous with plugging and introducing you. Let them do that. Say once you might be able to mention, there's a free download or there's more information on my website. But don't sell too many times, because if you do that, you won't get asked to go back again. And if you're doing a national interview like on Radio 2 or Radio 4 or LBC or something like that, don't do it at all. Just be there to help offer the information. So always remember, tell, do not sell.
I mean, but that really is very difficult. I love the idea of the sticky pads and what they call post-it notes, aren't they?
Notes,
and there are other brands, of course, available too. But the post-it notes, that is a really good idea. Those key messages. We always say to people when they're coming in for an interview, have your 3 answers, have them ready to actually say something, so you know where you're going with it. Have a direction. If you don't have a map, you'll never get to where you want to be.
Yeah.
Okay, so what I've done is I've put myself forward. I've got the key messages that I want to get over that will promote my business, perhaps. Yep. What about the actual information that I'm using as well? Is that because I'm an expert, I shouldn't really have to think about that? I shouldn't, do I have to do any prep like that around the preparation?
No, because sometimes actually, probably a lot of interviews that you'll do, 80% of the content will be nothing about your business. It's just about the information that you can offer at that time. So, just...
Have you ever been caught out yourself? Has there been that moment where you thought, I honestly don't know the answer?
Yeah, but then you can just say, I don't know the answer, because if you're in business, you should be honest anyway. You say, I've never been asked that. I will look it up and come back to you. We're only human. Have you ever seen the interview? It's been on YouTube for a long time. The taxi driver that went to pick up the expert from the Sky station, and he was whisked upstairs and mic'd up because he thought he was picking up the expert. They called the expert's name, mic'd him up, put him in front, and he talked about technology for about 2 minutes, and he knew nothing about it. So don't worry, you don't have to have all the answers. The job of the journalist is to interview you, steer you around graciously, because they don't want you to fail as being interviewed. They don't want it to be boring, they don't want it to be awkward. The only time I've been caught out once, and you do have to be careful, is by sharing your story for the right reasons. You don't want to PR is not an ego thing. You're not just doing it to get onto radio or TV. You're doing it to help someone or to share your emotional connection, emotional story. Once I shared a very personal story to me, and it was all about, but it was relevant to my mums. They were working mums, and I had postnatal depression after I had my daughter. So I shared my story because it was relevant, and I shared it with a national newspaper, and I proofed the story because it was so personal, and I thought so relevant because I'm helping mums, but I didn't proof the headlines. Oh, and it was awful. It was just terrible. So I've been caught out once, but 99% of the PR I've had has been amazing.
Do you think sometimes businesses do treat then the journalists and the news media with suspicion sometimes, that they are worried that they'll be caught out?
People are scared. We're still, for some reason, we still have journalists and the media on pedestals. I interviewed the science editor of the Times about 2 months ago, and I said, well, how should we approach this? Oh, for goodness sake, just call me Tom. You know, it's just Tom. We're just human. You know, or how should we approach the email? Just say hello, Tom. You know, don't be scared, because they need your help. They need the right stories. So, you know, don't worry about it. Just give it a go.
Do you think a lot of what you do, though, goes back to your sales background that you had? I mean, you're fundamentally a salesperson, aren't you?
Yeah.
So your skin is a foot thick.
Yeah.
And you can take rejection quite easily, and you don't mind what comes back to you.
Yeah.
Is that something that we've all got to learn if we're trying to get this kind of PR?
No. Yes and no. It's like anything in business. We've got to learn to be a little bit brave. But it's not all about TV and radio. There's so much publicity that you can get online. So there's so many, you know, business websites out there now that need relevant content. So if you want to do your baby steps first, as long as you've got great relevant content, you can take your newsletters that are reaching your audience and take it one step further and send it to these business websites that will be grateful for the content, because they need rich content that's relevant to their audience. So you don't have to be brave. You can just have to type and be able to write. So you just need to get the connections. It's just about, you know, knowing where to send it, really.
It's all about getting the right connections. That's what it's all about. You know, it's really interesting. In just a moment, we're going to talk about how you go about getting that list together. That you make it sound so incredibly easy. Well, it's just straightforward. You just sit down, do a little bit of work, and all of a sudden, you're on the radio. It isn't that easy, surely not.
It isn't that easy.
It isn't that easy.
I have had it that easy. No.
So what we're going to do, we're going to look at the way that you put together your particular lists, where you should be going, how you get ready to do this, what should you be doing, where should you be reading, where should you be collecting numbers from, how do you go about it, maybe how do you compose that email we just heard. You just go, dear sir, dear Dave, I felt I could do you a really good job. That's how you go about doing it, is it? We'll find out a little bit more in just a few moments' time. If you want to find out more about Rachael, by the way, you can go to her website. It is Blue Boo Media. I'll just bring the website up here so you can have a quick... You're redesigning this at the moment, aren't you?
Yes, I am.
And you'll see why in a moment. And but you can see there a nice introductory video. I love the red heading there, the action words there. It gives you a little bit of a background to what Rachael is all about. But if you go to the website at blueboo.co.uk, you'll find out more about Rachael and what she can offer, but also about their media database that they've got as well, and also the different services that they provide to you if you want to get your business into the press. As I said, my guest on today's show is Rachael Taplin, the Blue Boo Media. We're talking about how you can raise your media profile, how you can make yourself maybe within the media a business celebrity on the topic that is the closest to your heart, the topic being, of course, your business. And it should be a fascinating show. More to come in just a few minutes' time on this edition of Business Connections Live. You're watching Business Connections Live. Great to have your company with us. On the programme today, my guest is Rachael Taplin of Blue Boo Media. She's a media matchmaker, speaker and PR trainer. Media requests is something that we hear people sometimes talk about, and we don't really understand it. You kind of alluded to it a little bit earlier on, where you were talking about the journalists are hungry for getting any information. You've got radio stations now that aren't manned. They don't have the same number of people working for them as they used to. Local newspapers, of course, maybe 10, 20 years ago, they would have had a staff of maybe 50 to 100. Now, they're lucky that they've got 5 or 6 people working. So they're all hungry for ready content, aren't they?
That's right.
So what is then a media request?
This is the best kept secret.
Right, and we're not going to tell you.
No, seriously, because this is what happened to me. When I had the PR agency, this is how I got into the Daily Mail, and the PR executive probably got sacked afterwards because she just forwarded on an email that came in that was called a media request. I thought, what is this? And it was just a shout out. A journalist from the Daily Mail was writing an article about part-time franchising. That was perfect for my business, and it was called a media request. Now, there's two ways you can approach and get publicity. You can write a press release and send it into the media. That's the traditional way. Or
is that a lottery? Have you got as much chance of winning as winning the lottery?
It's targeting. Rather than just send it to the news desk, you want the women's editor, you want the beauty editor, the technology person. It's having the right contacts, taking a bit of time to either phone up, find out, or go on the internet, or use a media database, of which obviously I'd be happy to help you with. So there are ways that you can do it, but it's targeting.
When you say me, you mean me?
Yes,
yeah, okay,
because
right.
Journalists will, get up to 300-400 emails a day. So it's making sure your headline is really strong. It's like any email, any copywriting, you've got to grab their attention, and it's the things that you say right at the top: how, why, what, when, where, as short as you can, that grabs their attention. That's what will get you the coverage.
Give me something that would grab somebody's attention. I mean, pick something that you've done before in the past. That's putting you on the spot, and all of a sudden your mind will go blank.
It's exactly gone blank.
It's exactly gone blank. But can you remember a headline that you've used that actually did capture someone's imagination as they read it?
Well, I did it with Working Mums Day. I launched Working Mums Day, and we did a survey. Media love surveys. We did a survey ahead of it, and we found that 80% of mums felt guilty for going back to work after having children. Well, that's quite a strong statistic, and it was something like 70% of mums felt lonely when they'd had their children. Well, to be able to say that and admit that, it's quite a big, powerful thing, and that's why we got a lot of coverage from it. So it's grabbing, their attention, their headline, but again, it's matching it to the audience, so making sure that the two fit. So the journalists know how to spot a story, so just keep it as concise as possible, and they'll choose whether to follow it up or not. So don't always think that you have to write a fantastic press release, because you don't. We're worried again also about press releases. Do we have to follow a template? There's loads of templates, but it's just about getting the story to them, and they'll pick up on it if it's worthwhile. So the first way is you can write a press release and send it to them. But the second way, and this is the secret...
Sorry, this is the secret.
This is the secret.
We did a bit of a tease there, didn't we?
Yes, we did.
And we'll tell you right... No, we won't. No, OK, so the secret is...
The secret is the journalists put out what's called a media request, and you can get the media to come to you. So if you're in their little black book, or you've approached them, they will contact you and say, we need you as a mumpreneur, as a business owner, we need your help with a story. Can you help us? That's called a media request. So they sit down every day and they forward plan. Say, today we're talking about, Christmas, Father's Day. What quirky stories are there? Or Valentine's, always a good one. Who's falling in love? Who's not falling in love? Or in January, they're always talking about fitness. So then they say, find me a case study, someone that's lost 10 stone in weight in 2 weeks. Find us that great case study. And that's called a media request. But
that's called a miracle.
It is called a miracle. But business owners don't actually know. This is the service that PR agencies use. They sign up to a media request service. And at Bluebill, I've set up the first media request service direct to business owners. So you can get every single day 20 to 30 PR leads, media requests, journal requests, whatever you want to call them. I can provide you with daily leads from journalists that are looking for help with stories today.
So is that information... Say I don't want to use you because I don't want it to turn into a pitch for... you know what I mean? Is that information available generally?
There's media request services out there that people can subscribe to get the media PR leads coming into them. Absolutely. The journalists are now starting to use the hashtag on Twitter, journal requests, because it's moving that fast. They haven't got time really to phone up every contact. They just put it out to their database. So we just send it out. Another media request service will just send it out. So if you're in lifestyle, health or beauty or technology or business, you just read the sections that's relevant to you and you just reply if you can. I responded to one literally last week. For myself, because I'm trying to show people how easy it can be. Journalists have put a media request out. It came into, obviously I'd sent it out to my business. I thought, I'll reply to that. I just replied to it on Twitter. I can help you with the story. Rachael@blueboo.co.uk. She emailed me the details of the story. It was about if you turned your business around and done something completely different. When in 2009 I did. How did it work? I responded to it, wrote 500 words. That's it. Got coverage within half an hour's work. Just a media request.
Amazing.
It is. But that's why I get so... I know you say I have high energy and get so excited. And that's why, because it can be that simple. It can be easy and not that time-consuming to get coverage.
So what would be your first piece of advice then to a business? Would it be go out there, identify who the journalists are that are writing in your market sector, and follow them on Twitter, email them?
That's a great place to start. Look, like I said, PR is not about ego, it's about quality. You're doing it really to raise your profile, to position yourself, but also it's more customers. We all need more customers. We want cash in the bank.
That's what all this is about.
Of course it is. It's a different marketing strategy, and it's one that you should definitely have. So think about your top 5 media contacts. Who is it? What's your magical wish list? Where do you want to be? Whether it's LBC, whether it's a trade magazine, whether it's the Times, whether it's the Sun. Where do you want to be? And just start building relationships with those 5 people. See, a lot of small business owners, their market might only be regional, so they only want to get regional coverage. It will still help them, of course, to get national coverage, because it's great to say to their local customers, I've just been featured on radio too. But they might only really want to focus on the media in their local area, and that's cool. So just say, right, who's the producers? Go to, for me, as I said, BBC WM, follow their Facebook page, follow them on Twitter. It might be the Birmingham Post or Mail then, see who the business editor is or the lifestyle writer, start connect with them on Twitter and start building a relationship. It's good old-fashioned relationships.
Now, when you say relationship, I think a lot of people get very confused by this, because we hear this from our social media experts.
Yeah.
Sounds like it's another social media platform that we're going to be working on. But it's all about, the clue is social, it's been social, and it's on media, social media. But how do you, that relationship, what do you mean by that? Is it enough to just follow them, or do you have to engage with them?
Yeah.
And when you engage, what are you engaging about? How are you engaging?
Things like, if they've just written a great article and you've read that newspaper or that magazine, tweet, great article that you've just written. Most journalists will have their name, and you just tweet them, say, great article. We all like a little pat on the back sometimes. Wouldn't that make your day from a journalist point? They're only human. It's a great article. Or, you've said yourself, if you have someone and you don't agree with the article they've just written, tell them.
Any reaction is a good reaction.
Yeah, be a bit controversial. The media love someone that is quite willing to put their forward, their thoughts forward. They don't really want you sitting on the face, are you in, are you out? Tell them, are you in, are you out? So build relationships, compliment them, just say you can help them if they're looking for help, with a particular story. Say, I can't help you on this, but I know someone that can. Connect the two together. If they're talking about a story in general, they've written a story, you might say, I've got a follow-up story to this. So just connect to them and just start chatting to them.
Sounds like it's a very, very straightforward idea, actually.
It is.
Now, okay, I'm a business owner and I'm thinking to myself, that sounds great. I'll get on. I'll identify the journalists that are in my market area.
Yep.
I'll start complimenting them, telling how good their stories are. Where else should I be looking? Is it worth going down the route of people who blog for industry and write that way too?
Yeah, absolutely. Because the internet, there's so much online PR that you can be getting. And the good thing is with the internet, it'll stay around forever. One of my clients, she was a coach. She'd just come back from Spain. She responded to a media request that we gave to her. The Guardian Online were looking for an expert to talk about coaching, how to change your career. 3 years on, she's still getting leads from that article with the Guardian Online. Now, the Guardian Online reach 500,000 unique users a day. So online blogging or sharing your story, it can be really, really powerful. So absolutely see what business blogs there are, see if you can provide them with content and become a regular contributor. That's one of the easiest ways.
I think it's frightening sometimes, and I can see what you're saying. It's building that relationship. I think a lot of people, though, find themselves in a situation where they're maybe chasing the wrong people within the organisation. So be very clear in your mind's eye. The people that you want to talk to are the people that are actually originating the content.
Yes. Yeah, you know, you need strategies in place. You know, you're not going out to the whole world. Target it down, be niche who you want to connect with, and make sure you spend a little bit of time investing in the right people, your right audience, because one article could change your business overnight. One of my clients, we told her to do one thing, and do you know what that one thing was? Pick up the phone. We gave her the contact for the Times. She picked up the phone. She had a double-page spread written about her business in the Times. It was worth over £100,000 of the business to her.
Crikey. That's pretty impressive, isn't it? Are you looking for £100,000 worth of business for your particular business? Would you like to have a double-page spread in the Times? For that matter, would you like to have any form of media inches in any publication? Are you finding yourself that you've got this fantastic idea that you truly are an expert in the industry about, and you're finding yourself in a situation where you're just not getting your message out there? Do you know, it is so easy to be a well-kept secret, isn't it? Every business must go through this. It's so easy. You set your business up, you have a great idea, and everybody expects everybody to be fighting, or people to be fighting a path to their door because they've just designed the best mousetrap in the whole world. It ain't going to happen unless you're standing there on a box in the middle of a room and shouting your head off and telling people that you're there. And the best way to do it is to follow Rachel's advice and maybe get those column inches in different publications. Start a relationship with the journalists and make your business successful. Rachael Taplin is my guest today on Business Connections Live. You're watching Business Connections Live on a Monday lunchtime. A little bit late today, so still more to go. What we do, we've just gone 1:10 on a Monday afternoon. Enjoying yourself?
Having a great time.
It's really warm, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah, so we've had the studio relit, and it's a bit hot today, so we'll be turning some of those fires off. They're sitting above us at the moment. Listen, great to have you with us, and great for you to join us. Don't forget, you can now comment on the programmes on our Facebook page, or you can watch them on YouTube if you wish. Incidentally, if you're finding this really interesting and you're sort of seeing it as a kind of a training day to a certain extent, you've got Rachael here. She's talking about the services that she provides. But really, don't you think it would be great if you could maybe come in and do some training when it comes to how you actually handle the media? Have you ever been, we talked earlier on, you've been in the position where you've been interviewed. Have you ever been lost for words?
Of course. I get just as scared as everybody else, and it's really nerve-wracking.
Because interesting, you were worried about coming in here today.
Yes, of course. I'm only human. I was nervous too. And when you asked me the question at Birmingham, you just panic because you think, you've taken me out of my comfort zone. So absolutely, of course. But as long as you talk from the heart, you can't go wrong then, can you?
No, I went up to a broadcast channel in Chiswick on last Thursday, in fact, and even walking up there, I mean, I'm an old hat at this. I mean, I've out thousands of hours in front of cameras, behind microphones, and even walking up towards the building that I was going to meet somebody, I could feel my heart increasing, and it was thumping inside of my chest. You're watching Business Connections Live. Great to have you with us today. My guest on today's show is Rachael Taplin of Blue Boo Media. She's a media matchmaker, speaker and PR trainer. Today on the program we've been talking about how any business can actually go about growing its own profile, the awareness to the public by using the media. The media are hungry out there to get you on the air. If you've got something that is worth listening to, they'd like to be talking to you. But it's making certain that you actually do interact with them, that you let them know that you're there, that you are available, that you've got something that's worthwhile listening to. And if you have, then they'll come and they'll talk to you. When it comes to the equipment that you need, do you go to the radio stations to do the presentations and the TV stations, or do they come to you? Do you do it on location, or do you have a nifty microphone at home where you can do inserts into live programmes?
It's all changed so much, it really has, and it's still really varied. I think, especially with the local stations, if you can go along, they like to have you in the studios. But if it's something it's a story that's just broken, it's a newsworthy story, and they're looking for quick experts, they're happy to do it over a landline. Don't really ever give your interviews over a mobile, because we know what can happen sometimes. You know, you lose signal, so still do it on a traditional landline. But also what the journalists will do these days is they will send you a list of questions. You'll record it into voice memo into your phone, and the quality is that good you can then just email it to them, and then they can just edit it from their end. It's changed so much, it really has. I've been interviewed by radio presenters now, just sometimes literally via a phone, and they'll voice capture it, and the quality is just good enough.
That is fantastic. So you don't need all this specialist equipment, so you don't have a studio at home or anything like that?
No, absolutely not. You know, it used to be the ISDN lines, didn't it? You used to have to do a radio interview down. No, absolutely not. You know, I've had it so they've brought a van out, a radio van before, and done an interview with me. I've gone into the studios lots of times, but I've done most of my interviews over the telephone.
Actually, if you do find yourself in a situation where you're thinking to yourself, you know, actually this is beginning to pick up, I'm getting a lot of radio interviews, and they start asking you, do you have your own home studio? If you've looked at the bottom of this page, not directly after the program, but in a couple of hours' time, there'll be information there on the kind of equipment that you need, where you can actually do down-the-line interviews that are just studio quality and everything like that. We'll put that on the, I think it's IPDTL, am I right? IPDTL. Check out their website. It means you can actually use your Chrome browser with a microphone plugged into your laptop, and you'll get studio quality as a contributor to radio stations up and down the country, and the BBC are using it as well. Fantastic way of getting inserts in there. Do you think all topics are open? Could we talk about anything? Does it matter what industry you're in? Do we see waves of favouritism as we go through the year? Are there moments in the year when we're looking at one particular topic and then another topic? Can you see those kind of things happening on a regular basis?
Absolutely. One of the simplest of ways, if you want to start somewhere, is, you know, every year we do the same things. Every year it's Christmas, Mother's Day, Father's Day, Valentine's Day, you know.
Have something to say about those events.
So, National Celebration Days. And if you Google National Celebration Days, there's a whole long list. So we have It's No Snoring Day, or Walk to Work Week, or you know, Dementia Week, or whatever it is. There is a celebration day for everything. One of my clients, she heard me speak and just literally sharing what we shared now, and she was a poet. And it was World Poetry Day coming up, so she Googled, she went away after she heard me speak, where's my national day, and she gave me a great testimonial afterwards. She went off, she approached her local BBC, she found her own contacts and said to them 2 weeks before, did you know it was World Poetry Day? I went, no we didn't, but thank you for letting us know. It's probably a bit too far away, can you let us know a couple of days before? She emailed in, she phoned them up, said great, can you come on the show? She had 18 minutes on her local BBC station being interviewed for World Poetry Day.
I don't know whether that's sad or great news, the fact that the BBC had to fill 18 minutes with it.
The BBC is 60% to 70% talk, you know, so they've got to fill the content with something. The following year, what was funny, they phoned her and said, did you realise it's World Poetry Day? And now she does regular guest speaking. She goes quite a lot of times on a Sunday to go through the newspapers. She regularly does media from one little snippet of following a national celebration.
You did something very similar yourself, didn't you?
I launched...
You created your own day.
I did. I created they didn't have a day for me, so I created National Working Mums Day. And back then, as I say, I invested in the programme to show me how to do it. So I did a survey first. I got all the results. I did hire a media company, sat in a studio. I did 15 live interviews back to back.
50?
15. And it went over 70 radio stations in one day. And I had local, regional and national coverage just for launching National Working Mums Day. So I did a survey and had some quite emotive stats about the survey, about how many % of mums feel guilty for going back to work or feel lonely. So it was quite, you know, but we were celebrating National Working Mums Day, and it worked.
It's just, I've just been whispered in my ear. In fact, Gordon, who presses the buttons today, he thinks that he may have interviewed you once.
Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah. So he thinks you could have been on one of the radio stations there. That's really interesting. So, I mean, really just bringing it all around then. So we've gone through the media requests, which are the well-kept secret. Yeah. You can help people with that as well, can't you?
Yeah.
So, I mean, we try not to make the programme a plug, but there is... You can make that process a lot easier for them.
Our job is to make it as easy as possible, as cost effective as possible, so we can provide you PLEs for just £29 a month. You can even trial it for a pound for 14 days.
There it was. All right, that'll do. Get out of here. All right.
But no, it genuinely does work. It's a great way to just test the water.
Okay. Listen, we are rapidly approaching the end, and what I always ask the guests to do, maybe yours is just slightly different, but I always ask our guests to give the key takeaways of what we've talked about today. I'll tell you what, we'll do that if you can, if that's all right. It's straight down camera number one that's just over there. If you can give us the key takeaways of what we should be thinking about when we're doing this, why we should be doing it as well, for that matter. So it's the whole programme in 3 minutes, if you don't mind. Thank you very much. Say who you are, where you're from. That would be a great help as well. And Rachael Taplin, just take it it away down camera number 1.
Okay, well, as you know, I'm Rachael Taplin, and I'm a business owner first and foremost, and I've got a real passion for PR because I needed PR for my business at the time that it was really challenged. So PR is the forgotten marketing tool, and there's so many different marketing strategies we can be using: social media, online advertising, offline advertising, radio, TV. But PR is one of the most cost-effective ways to get new customers, and it builds and positions you as the expert. So why is it important? Because it's practically free, it's fun to do, but it opens and creates opportunities for you. So just give it a go. Start with the baby steps. Start with your top 5 media contacts. Just think about where would you like to be, and don't be scared, because the editor of the Times is just as lovely as the editor of your local newspaper. But don't just go to the news desk. They get inundated. The news desk will get inundated news at your local local TV station or radio station. Find out the actual producer. So take some time. If you've only got 5 media outlets you're going to target, whether it's maybe 1 radio, 1 TV, it might be 1 National Women's Magazine, it might be 1 trade magazine. Buy that media, listen to that radio station, watch that TV channel, and get to know the presenters and look at the trailers at the end. Who are the producers? And connect with them via Twitter. So start with your top 5, connect with them, then connect with them via Twitter, and then be brave and make contact with them, because you'll be astonished with the results that you could get. As I said, from when I've done it, I've generated so much cash to my business, but created opportunities. As a business owner, I'm, just quite simple. I've got 4 O-levels and 2 A-levels to my name, but I got asked, because I was positioned as the expert, to organise an Equality and Human Rights Summit for mumpreneurs, so I got round this table in London with all these wonderful business leaders, and that was because I'd done PR. So it really does open doors for you. So give it a go. Don't worry about your approach. Just remember how, why, what, when, where, and have a striking headline. But the most important thing is to take action. Don't be scared of it, just give it a chance. So you're probably doing your social media, you're probably doing your newsletters to your database that you normally send out as an email, or you send it out as a blog. Take that one step further and just approach the media and give it a go, because you'll be addicted. You will absolutely love it.
Fantastic. Some great advice there, actually, and I think you're so right. Just thinking about radio stations that I've worked in, they are, you maybe only have 1 or 2 people that are trying to put together news bulletins, right. They're trying to put together interview programs. They are hungry for the information, but I think as business owners, we sit outside of that loop and we're saying to ourselves, well, honestly, they won't want to talk to me, and in fact, actually, they're going to be very, very hungry to talk to you. They actually need the information. Hope you found that really interesting today. As Rachael has said as well, that you don't need any special equipment, nothing like that. One question I was going to ask you about press releases. We've come up with a striking headline. How long should 2 questions. How long should a press release be?
It varies. Anything between 500 and 800 words. I wouldn't do it any longer than that. But it can be shorter as well.
And what am I trying to achieve at the press release? Am I trying to tell them the whole story, or am I trying to get them on the hook?
You need a headline, and then you need almost a sub-headline, just a quick summary of the facts, and then the hook underneath. So always try and have a little bit of substance to it. So maybe have a case study, or a quote or something that's in there, and always put your contact details. But the most important thing is your headline and your quick summary at the top of how, why, what, when, where.
And what about pictures? Do I need a striking picture? I mean, it's easy for you if you send a picture of Rachael Taplin. They're going to go, wow, she's fantastic. Well, I'm on the telly.
No, absolutely.
Got a face for radio.
Always, if you do take a picture, have it as low res, because what they don't want is you clogging up their emails, with high resolution images. So if you are going to attach photos, make sure that they're really low res images. So absolutely, if you can help them out with a picture that sums up the story, that's the difference, not an advert sums up the story, send it in to them, because they haven't got the budget to send the photographer around. So if you can say to them, this is the low res version, I can send you the high res version, make it fun, make it vibrant, because they, a picture story they absolutely love, especially local and regional newspapers. And if you're in the community, share a community story.
In the community, share a community story. I hope you've enjoyed today's program. It's been fascinating. If you want to find out more about Rachael, just simply go along to her website. It is blueboo.co.uk. I'll just go to the homepage, and the website is being redesigned at the moment. There's a nice message there from Rachael as well. It's a funny place to have one of those red things across your mouth, but hey ho, it's one of those things. Listen, I hope you've enjoyed today's program. A real insight into how you as a small business owner should be going about getting maybe some free PR and press to promote and to market your business. Good luck on that, and I hope it goes remarkably well. I hope you enjoyed this edition with Rachael of Business Connections Live. Do you know what? We're a little bit late today, but that practically wraps it up. Lunchtime's finished. Time to get out of here. I'm afraid we're going to turn these lights off, and we're going to be rubbed down with a copy of the old Radio Times. Till the next time, till we do it all again next week at midday from me, Steve Holland, and Rachael Taplin. Thank you very much for your company, and we'll see you next week at noon. Bye for now. Bye-bye.